All right, let's dive deep into this whole Stamp 1 to Stamp 4 thing in Ireland.
Sounds good to me.
Today, we're focusing on researchers,
Hmm?
specifically those with hosting agreements.
Right.
And we're going to tackle how the length of that agreement affects eligibility for Stamp 4.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. A lot of people have questions about it.
Absolutely. It can be a bit of a headache to figure out.
Definitely. It can.
So our listener today have a hosting agreement for 23 months and 2 weeks,
Okay.
which is, a tad shorter than the typical 24 months you often hear about as being needed.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a little bit short. Yeah.
And to make things even more interesting, they're expecting to get their Stamp 1 by the end of February 2025. But here's the thing. If they need 21 months on a Stamp 1 to be eligible for Stamp 4,
Right.
that wouldn't happen until November 2026, which is after their hosting agreement ends.
Mm.
Tricky, huh?
Yeah, that is.
And, I was checking out some stuff online, and on YouTube, a lot of people seem to think that having that full 24-month contract is super important for getting Stamp 4. There was even this one video where they talked about a researcher who managed to get a 6-month extension to hit those 24 months.
Oh, wow.
And then they ended up getting their Stamp 4 and staying in Ireland.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that just goes to show that sometimes a little bit of flexibility can really work out. Like, even though the 24-month guideline is out there, it doesn't necessarily mean it's set in stone.
Right. It's not like a hard and fast rule.
Exactly. The immigration folks tend to take a broader look at your situation.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They don't just focus on one single thing.
Because I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in, like, the numbers.
Totally.
Dates, deadlines, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's more to it than just that.
For sure. Think about it this way. That 21-month requirement isn't just some random number they pulled out of a hat. It's there to show that you're genuinely committed to being in Ireland, to living and working there. They want to see that you're not just passing through,
Yeah, like you're actually invested.
Yeah.
It's not just there for a quick trip.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's not just about checking a box.
So much more to it.
It's about demonstrating that you're really part of the community. Now, you mentioned that YouTube video.
Yeah.
Did they happen to mention anything specific about that researcher, like what field they were in or any connections they had in the Irish research community?
Actually, now that you mention it, no, they didn't go into any of those details.
Interesting.
It does make you wonder if those things might have played a role, though.
Right. It's possible.
Like maybe someone in a field where there's a high demand might have a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, while the rules are the same for everybody, certain things could be considered, like your area of research or how strong your ties are to the Irish research scene.
Interesting. So even with that 24-month guideline, it seems like other things can tip the scales.
Exactly. And, you mentioned a hosting agreement earlier, which is a super important document.
Yeah, for sure. Basically, it's an agreement between you as the researcher and the Irish institution that's hosting your research.
Right.
It lays out all the details, what you'll be working on, how long you'll be there, and crucially, it proves that you're really engaged in research in Ireland.
Exactly. It's basically saying you're not just here for the fun, even though the fun is pretty great.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of the hosting agreement, that YouTube video creator actually suggested that our listeners should ask their supervisor for a 2-week extension,
Oh, okay.
just to hit that 24-month mark. Do you think that's worth a shot?
Absolutely. It never hurts to ask. It shows that you're proactive and serious about meeting the requirements.
Right.
But remember, the final say comes down to Irish immigration. They look at the whole picture, not just one piece of it.
Right. So just to sum things up, the length of that hosting agreement is definitely important, but it's not the only thing that matters.
Exactly.
And even though there are no guarantees, asking for that extension could be a good move.
I agree. Now, as you continue to research and figure things out, here's something to think about.
Okay.
What other factors besides the contract length and the hosting agreement do you think Irish immigration might consider when they're looking at Stamp 4 applications?
That's a great question.
Think about your contributions, your connections to Ireland, and how you plan to be a part of Irish life.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
It's all about showing that you're not just there for a short time, but that you're truly invested in being a part of the Irish community.
Exactly.
And that's what matters most.
That's a great takeaway. Thanks for all the insights.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
This was really helpful, and hopefully our listener got a lot out of it, too. Be sure to tune in to our next deep dive where we'll be tackling another tricky topic.
Looking forward to it.
See you then.
See ya.